It comes from chapter 4 when you're talking about Paradise Lost and the radical, romantic radicals, and their how they see Satan as a hero, and how it comes from they're not able to understand something that has absolute power as not being fundamentally abusive. And I feel that this is a huge theme. I have a daughter in college, and I feel like this is a huge theme, and maybe an underlying current everywhere that she goes. She talks about it. We have discussions all the time, and it's like how do you go against that current when it really comes back down to that premise with people that this. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly what you're trying to say.
Thank you.
No, there's a wonderful book by Albert Camus called The Rebel. And a lot of my insights, I hadn't read The Rebel when I wrote The Truth and Beauty, but a lot of my insights coming from Paradise Lost are also in The Rebel. And one of the things he says about rebellion is that rebellion implies limits. The rebel rebels because the master has done something to him that he feels is not right to do to any man. So essentially, the rebel is saying, you have violated my rights or my dignity in a way that no man's rights, no man's dignity should be violated. That implies that there is a power above the master that is, in fact, definitive of what is good and right and true. And so Milton, who has participated in the killing of a king, was writing Paradise Lost in part to say, killing the king is not killing God. Rebelling against a powerful person who has strayed from the right path is not the same thing as rebelling against that power, which is in place because it is the definition of goodness. It is the thing that defines goodness. If you rebel and you were saying that there's something you cannot do to me because you must not do it to any man, you are essentially accepting the existence of God against whom you cannot rebel without becoming evil. And so I think that inherent contradiction, which I never hear anybody on the left bring up, I think is an important one to remind people of. Whenever you hear someone say, well, you should be treated equally, you say, well, why? I've heard people say multiculturalism, something that always drove me crazy. There used to be a jean ad in LA, a billboard that said, respect all cultures. And I would think, really? Really? Because there's some of them I don't respect at all. There's some parts about our culture I don't respect at all. Well, why should all cultures be treated well? If morality is relative, if ideas are relative, if there's nothing central, nothing universal, why should cultures be treated well? Why not just treat them badly and take what they have and go home with their riches? In fact, we treat them well because we feel there is such a thing as justice. We feel there's such a thing as right. We feel there's some things that should not be done to any man or woman. And so because we feel like that, we know there is a sovereign power who is defined by his goodness. You cannot have a moral structure, a moral construct without that thought. And all the people I love, the guys like Douglas Murray, who are calling themselves Christian atheists, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I tried for 35 years to make that work. It never works. So what I would say to your child is essentially all these people want to rebel, but why? Why do they feel they have the power to demand something from people who are more powerful, older, possibly wiser than they? They feel it because they know that there is something universal that is objectively there, and that can't be true unless there is a sovereign power that is the right power, the good power, and they're rebelling against somebody because he's not representing that. So that to me is the answer. Relativism falls apart because it doesn't work within itself. People say all good is relative, and you'll say, well, then why is there any good? It just doesn't make any sense. But when you write it in French, it sounds better. So I guess that's why it took over our university system.
I appreciate you answering that. When you speak about as a woman, how important it is to raise children, I just feel it so intensely these days as, I see this world and truly what our children are up against, and it truly does feel like the greatest calling of my life. So.
Well, I'm so happy to hear it, and I have to tell you, when I say it on the air, I've never been asked back on Fox News. Once I started to say it, they basically banned me from going on there. I get so many letters from women who feel that they are doing something that the world tells them is unimportant, and of course, it is the essential thing. It is the one essential thing. It is the one human thing that makes for our humanity. And it drives me crazy that essentially what feminism has done is adopted male values as values, you know. And all I see is, well, I'm a strong woman, you know, and women in the movies always have their fists on their hips and all this stuff. And I think, yeah, if I wanted to marry somebody that strong, I'd have married a guy. You know, it's like I'm not that impressed with that. You know, there are all kinds of other qualities and skills and talents. You know, you have to admit that the strongest person is going to be some muscle bound guy.